Hey y'all, welcome back to Right at the Wire. We've got a pick five sequence anchored by the Rebel Stakes on Sunday now at Oaklawn. And I'm sorry, please make that note. I've got February 22nd, that Saturday. All the races for Saturday's card at Oaklawn have been moved to Sunday. Very important. So I hope we all take note of that. The sequence starts with the Trivista. It's ungraded at 145,000, eighth race on Sunday's card, running a mile and a 16th for 4-year-olds and up, fillies and mares. And the track, Oaklawn has been generally playing a little bit more to speed than I think it normally does. And for that reason, that's we're kind of putting an emphasis on these most of these races. Now, you can see that Beaudraw is to me kind of a token E. I don't really expect that he will or she will get the lead or he'd be able to hold it. Her form's not very good, and I don't like her in this spot. So we go next to horses who potentially would get the lead, and I think it's going to be Penoir, number 5. Flavian Pratt is in the irons, and if you go back and look at the form the last time Flavian Pratt rode Penoir, he went wire to wire. And in when the track is speed favoring, it seems to me very logical with an inside post that that's what they're going to try to do. This one has a little bit of a class edge and speed figure wise over quite a few of these, and is my pick to win it. I think is in good form. It's obviously a great sign when Flavian Pratt gets aboard any horse, and would be my pick to win. I will say this: this is a pretty tough field. It is. There are a lot of horses in here who are very difficult to toss. Now, you take a look at a horse like Bruno Boyne. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Probably not, but number 2. This one has a good race, bad race pattern. Has been on the bench since December, so it's likely, and you look at the pattern, it's likely she's going to run a good race here, and this is a good scenario given the fact that the track is a little speed favoring, is in the inside in the 2-hole, and you get Irad Ortiz as an added bonus. Certainly, you're going to pay the tax on the price, but I think Bruno Boyne is a horse who can stick around in this race. Probably more a candidate for under because I think there's others that are better in here. But one I want to kind of take a little bit of a shot with for that reason. I'll make a note here about In Just My Heels. You may be a little surprised that I'm taking a horse who likes to be up near the lead and I'm throwing out at 3-1. This is a good horse, but here's the thing. You look at her running lines, all her best races, inside post. 1, 2, 3. Now she's marooned out in the 11-hole, and the last time she ran from an outside post, didn't hit the board. So I'm kind of gambling a little bit that may happen here. I wouldn't talk you out of using her if you want to put her underneath, but I think she's going to be really up against it to factor in this race because if she does, she's going to have to really gun it early on. And I think Penoir in particular has quite a bit of an advantage. So I'm going to let In Just My Heels go. But again, you want to use her. I can sort of understand it because she is in decent form. We'll get to the mid-pack or the pace pressers. And Under the Palms for Kenny McPeak, Brian Hernandez. I like this horse's last race and seems eligible to move forward. This would be the first foray, I believe, into stakes company. But on the rail with Brian Hernandez, we know what he can do there. So this one will save ground without a doubt. And then it'll be a question if she can work out a trip. I just like others a little bit better. At 12-1, she's eligible, but again, I think the track works against her a little bit because it is more speed favoring, and we know Kenny McPeaks generally like to stay about mid-pack or to the further back than that, and that's the way Brian likes to ride too, saving ground on the rail. So a little bit of it at a disadvantage here, but certainly one I think you can use. Okay. This should be no surprise to anybody who watched my post on the Risen Star Stakes. Gold medal Anna. Where's she coming from? Turfway Park. She's been running 3 races at Turfway with marginal results. However, look at her back class on dirt. It isn't bad. And as we know, horses who run at Turfway, when they go to other tracks, they run well. She's not going to win, but is this a horse that can hit the board? You betcha. And at 30-1, why not take a shot? And so, for that reason and that reason only, just like we did with Chunk of Gold and the Risen Star, we'll take a bit of a shot with Gold Medal Anna for the price. Indy Label is a horse I like in this race. Has had 3 straight starts, improved with every one since the maiden score. And the best thing is, as you guys know, when I see a horse with class rating increasing as the race rating increases, that's a horse who's improving. Last race, couldn't quite get to Claret Beret, but ran a really strong second. Again, a little bit up against it because of the way the track's playing, but I did really like that race, and if she takes another step forward, she can factor in this race for sure, and is a bit of a sleeper for a win candidate at 8-1, given the way she's running. It's a little concerned that now this is the 4th race, in the, which means it may be the beginning of a new form cycle. Excuse me. So I'm downgrading her just a skosh for that reason, but certainly one that you want to be using in your mix, particularly for the exotics, I think. Amber Cascade, Cherie DeVoe, Jose Ortiz, pretty hard to go against. Here's the only reason that I downgrade her a little bit. Number one, well, a couple reasons. First of all, the 10-hole. Not a good place to be. And also remember, her last race was a 5-horse field, and those type of races, it's an easier race. That's really what it comes down to for me more than anything. Now, she looked pretty impressive to me. She saved ground on the rail, swung out, and drove home. It was a very nice race. And coming second off the left, has every right to move forward in this race. No doubt whatsoever. And is an absolute use on the pick 5. I just think from a race shape perspective is a little up against it. But absolutely a horse to use. And hey, if she wins this is a major player moving forward in the Distaff division, I would say. So Amber Cascade, one to use. Brawdy Ferry, I think, again, a little too far back. I think that's going to be a big problem. Also, being on the inside, going to have to work out a trip, and there's a lot of others I like better. But if you want to use Brawdy Ferry underneath, I can kind of see it. But I'm going to go against her. This is a very well-balanced field. It really is. And to me, it's more race shape is going to determine my usage in here. So Peignoir, while I think is the pick to win it, I think there are some worthy contenders, in particular the 8 and the 10. But it's a fairly wide open affair, and this sequence, they're all like that. This is a very, very challenging sequence, probably the most challenging one we've had this year so far. So let's move on to our next race, the Honeybee. Next leg is the Honeybee. It's a grade 3, 9th race on the card. It's an Oaks Prep at a 1/16 for 3-year-old fillies. And this is a 50-point Oaks Prep race, again, on Sunday's card. Sorry about that. It's the 23rd. Very important. So just want to continue to reiterate that, make sure we get our days right. Look at this field, and, hey, Mohima leads the pack. For sure, without a doubt. But you do have Quick Kick coming back, who made a little bit of noise at 2 years old, as well as Quiet Side. And we do have an individual posting on this race. So I advise you to take a look at that for a little more in-depth study. Looking at this race, Mohima certainly stands out, but I got to tell you, as I mentioned in my individual post, I did not like that last race at all. They had to get after her. You had Ballerina Doro closing with a freight train, and Mohima seemed to be, the foot was off the gas a little bit. It might have been the jockey. I'm not going to blame the horse completely for that, but just the fact that they had to get her roused again to finish the race. You know, you want to see a horse who just wants to demolish the field and shows that killer instinct and just, you know, wins driving and nostril flaring, ears pricked, all that good stuff. And I didn't see it. So, do I think perhaps that maybe this is a time you try to beat Mohima coming off the layoff, debuting at 3? Yeah. And the main reason is, you know, a lot of times I look at these stakes races, particularly these preps, and when you see big fields, to me, it kind of speaks more to these overwhelming favorites that a lot of people think they're beatable. Now, the Risen Star last week, I think, is a pretty good example of that. You know, East Avenue had all the hype and everything, but yet there was a 14-horse field. Now, a lot of times when they don't think they can beat a horse, they don't try because they know they're going to win the race going away. But so when you see these bigger fields, it sends to me a little bit of a signal that maybe it's not so much a lock cinch as it might appear on paper. I have no reason to knock Mohima other than what I saw in that last race, and it's her debut at 3. So to me, if there's a time you're going to try to beat her, this is it. And we're going to try to beat her. I really like Look Forward. I know she's coming from California. I get it. I understand. But you know what? Two back, her race, she battled Tenma all the way down the stretch before she eventually lost it. But Tenma's a beast for Bob Baffert, and is definitely going to be a major player on the Oak scene. I thought that showed a lot about Look Forward. And, you know, she came right back in a 7-furlong race and won that easily. And I think that was sort of like a little reward. Like, let's give her a spot where she can win easily after a tough one. Especially after a tough race, when you see a horse come right back, it speaks to their quality. So at 6-1, I think it's going to be sitting just off the pace, which will likely be Classic Appeal. Another one coming from Turfway. But I just, as a front runner, I can't see her taking them all the way around the track. So I'm not going to use her. But I know that shocked some of you, but I just, not in this field. I can't see that. They changed tactics. Maybe she can suck up, but I don't see any reason why they would, because she won on the front end. So I like Take Charge Milady too. I think she showed me a lot, and again should be sitting right there. I'm just like Look Forward a little bit better, but to me those are the two. If we're going to beat Mohima, it's going to be the 6 or the 9. Anonima has shown a little bit to me, but I don't think has enough to win this race. But for underneath, yeah, I think you can comfortably use her. Quiet Side, I would never pick this horse to win ever again in a graded stakes. How many times do you have to watch and see her just look like she's going to win and just can't close the deal? I think she's very similar to Built to me. She's got talent. She's a nice filly. I'd be proud to own her, but she's a guarantee to get the money. I don't care where she is. 12-hole, doesn't matter. She's going to get the money. But I just can't see her winning this race. If she does, she'll beat me. I just can't do it at this point. Necessity is a maiden who I liked what I saw from her. And I don't normally like to take her, but at 20-1, this is a horse that looks like she's going to like 2 turns. And I think thrown in the mix underneath, sure. Quick Kick would be very logical, but there's a couple things, A lot of times closers need a race when they're coming off a layoff. This is the first start for Quick Kick. Obviously it's a question mark of whether or not she's moved ahead at 2. But I'll tell you, her last couple races, I really didn't like that late fraction for a late runner. She doesn't have the pattern, the pace pattern of a late runner. And, and couple that with the fact that Nooney just ran lights out to start the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. And had everything was poised for a closer in that race, and Quick Kick couldn't get it done. I think this horse has quality. I just really bothers me those last fractions. They were really light for a late runner. So I'm going to go against her here, thinking okay, she could probably get underneath in this field, but I just don't see that type of turn of foot where even if we do have a bit of a pace meltdown, that she's going to be the one that takes this. And I don't think we're going to have a pace meltdown. I think the fractions are going to be very reasonable, and you've got a speed favoring track. So there's a lot of things working against Quick Kick to win this, but underneath, sure. So we are going to take our shot, and we're going to go look forward to beat Mohima, and the one time maybe we're going to have a chance to in the Honeybee. Next leg of the Pick 5 is the Razorback. It's a Grade 3, 10th race on Sunday's card, running a mile and a 16th for 4-year-olds and up. And I'll tell you, this is another one. This is a pretty good field. We don't really have a confirmed front runner in here, but I got a feeling it's going to be Banishing, particularly since that's the way the track is playing, and this horse will generally get to lead. I don't think First Mission would get to the lead. I don't think so, but maybe. I mean, it's possible. You've got a fair amount of horses up and around the lead, but the ones I think in the best form and the ones that look the best is, of course, First Mission. I think there's a lot of things that set up really well for this race, most notably because it's a Grade 3. That seems to be where First Mission does his best work. He's shaky, as we know. Look, he's not even the favorite here at 5-1. But this is a bit of class relief. And, the Ali Sheba, I mean, he did just fine in that race. And this is a fairly similar type of field class-wise. He's got a track that's favoring to him. And I think this horse has talent. And, if he runs one of his better races, or maybe even a cut below it, he's going to win this race because he on paper he's better than the rest of these. I just wonder. We all have those questions about him, but I think a lot of that has to do with maybe he's just not quite as classy as we think. But here, I think he's a good fit. Alexander Helios, to me, is a horse who's on the rise. I did like his progression, and at 10-1, you're getting a really good price, and I think that he can sit in the mix. And if he can take another move forward, and maybe First Mission isn't quite up to snuff, Alexander Helios looks pretty good to me. So he's one I think you can consider using. Full Screen, to me, not quite as excited about, but at 15-1, that's one you want to think about. I'm not going to use him, but I could see him being in the mix. So just one little note here. Now, there's a lot of prominence in the late runners. Give you a second to digest that. Sorry. Okay. If you look at all four of these, they've all got hair on them. They do. Now, Krupe, I've kind of had enough of him. I thought he might make some noise in the Pegasus. I thought he might have a setup that was good for him, and he didn't do any running. Do a deeper dive on his running lines. If he's not in New York, he sucks. If he's in New York, he's a factor. Aqueduct, Belmont, Saratoga, he can run there, but he doesn't seem to want to run anywhere else. And for that reason, at 6-1, to me, he's an underlay, particularly on the way this track sets up. And so I'll look elsewhere. I'm going to keep Skinner in the mix, but he, to me, is turning into, it was a horse years ago named Perfect Drift. Some of you may remember. And he didn't matter what the race was. He was always guaranteed to pick up a check, but you never bet him to win. You could back key him on a trifecta for third in every race. Skinner, that last race, I thought he had every chance to win at the fairgrounds, and he didn't do it. He had a long stretch. Everything set up for him, and he still couldn't get there. He looked like he was going to, but he just couldn't put it all together, and that's looking like that's his MO. So am I going to invest in Skinner as a win candidate? No, can't do it. but I think he can certainly finish underneath in the exotics. He's in good form, and he'll beat me on top for the win. But Skinner, absolutely one to use. Red Route 1 has been very successful at Oaklawn. His form was had a little left to be desired, but he is coming back to a track that he does like. He doesn't have a scenario, I think, that's favorable to him, and he'll be coming from the clouds. We know that. Anytime he's tried to rate up near the lead, it just doesn't work out. So, kind of by default, at 15 to 1, I just think he's a horse. You know, that price, based upon his back class and everything else, you got to throw him in the mix. Creative Minister, yeah, he can suck up for third or fourth, sure, but he's very questionable as well. In a race that I don't think is really very well defined. I'm just finding that with a lot of these Oaklawn races that the fields are they're decently balanced, but there's just a lot of vulnerability all the way around, up and down. So we're going to go with First Mission, and he may or may not be a single, depending, because a lot of these races we're going to have to spread in, and if I want to beat Muhima, I don't know. It's a tough call right now, but tentatively, First Mission is my pick to win it, and we're certainly going to use him. Whether or not I use other horses, it probably would be Alexander Helios as an alternative, but this is a tough sequence so far. Okay, so let's move on to the Rebel Stakes. Okay, so now let's take a look at the Rebel Stakes. It's the featured race on the card. It's a Grade 2, 11th race, mile and a 16th for the 3-year-olds, run on Sunday's card at Oaklawn. And you look at this field, and I guess the initial instinct would be that there's a lot of speed in this race. But what kind of speed is it? I mean, Smokin' Wicked is probably the only one who's, maybe because he's more of a sprinter, would kind of qualify as a speed burner who would want to get things really hot. But does he really? And from the 9 hole, I don't know that he's going to be able to really get into great position without burning out pretty quick. This being a 2-turn race, I can't see where the pace is going to be lightning fast. I just don't. Innovator, Speed King, they're going to run honest fractions, but I don't see where it's going to be quick. And, the other thing is that the track is a little speed favoring, has been Oaklawn. So I think it's a bit of a misnomer that this is going to be a lightning fast pace that's going to set up for a closer. I think it's going to be honest. And from that perspective, Innovator is a horse that ran a really nice race last time, and I think he has certainly more stamina than Speed King, and he's got a little bit better post position for the coach, and I know that he's going to send him. That's what he does. So I think Innovator will be up amongst the leaders and probably on the engine. And I think he has the stamina to set, again, honest pace. And I think he can stick around. I don't know that he can wire this field, but I think he can stick around and perhaps get it underneath in your exotics. Speed King, that was a nice Southwest and totally unexpected. I mean, that just came out of nowhere. It was certainly aided by Sandman having a really bad break, but nonetheless, he took advantage of a speed favoring track, got on the lead, and nobody caught him. It was a nice effort, but the one thing I'm going to say is you look at those fractions, and his last fraction was pretty weak. It was the kind of a late fraction that a speed horse who has stamina questions runs. And now you've got a big field that's where the class is, the waters are a little deeper. I think Speed King is up against it here, particularly from the 11 hole. Now, you can say it didn't bother him from the 10 hole last time, but that wasn't as good a field. And the longer horses who don't like being around 2 turns have to do it, usually the more precipitous the fall. So I'm against Speed King here. I'm also against Coal Battle, mainly because he's a nice horse. He brings it every time, seemingly. But that Smarty Jones, he got a total breather on the second fraction. He was able to just coast. And that consequently allowed him to win the race with a lot left in the tank. It was a small field. This is a much bigger field and a deeper one. I think Cole Battle's got to get a lot faster if he wants to factor in this race. Can you put him underneath at 10-1? Possibly, but I don't see him as a win candidate, not in this one. And if he tries to wire him, I think he's going to be up against it. He's got enough horses to battle him where he won't get an easy lead like he did in the Smarty Jones. So looking at this field, I think horses closer to the pace are where you want to be. And for that reason, I'm taking Matticat Road. He's got a lot of hair on him. He's questionable. I totally get it. Totally understand. But a couple things. First of all, Baffert must have thought a lot of this horse to put him in a stakes race for his first time start. Secondly, his maiden race, I really loved the acceleration I saw from that horse. That's what got me hooked to him. Just the way he finished was really, he was a little green, but once he put it together, it was impressive. So we come to the Bob Lewis. Okay. What do you do? It's a Bob Baffert 1, 2, 3. We all knew that going into the race. Citizen Bull got on the lead, and I honestly think the instructions were, if you're not going to win the race, don't press the issue. And I think that's exactly what they did with Matticat Road. I think Citizen Bull had the race won. They said, okay, they just coast home, and we'll wait for the next one. The note was that he flattened out. I don't think he flattened. I don't think he was trying. I really don't. And so I think we'll get a very different horse in this race. Bob Baffert has a very good record at Oaklawn. He has brought some really nice horses here. American Pharaoh ran at Oaklawn. Muth won the Arkansas Derby last year. Go back to Looking at Lucky, his best Derby horse in 2010. So he likes Oaklawn, and I don't think he sent this horse just to run around the track. And I like Matticat Road. He should be sitting just off the leaders and should get first jump on the later runners. And that's really what I like more than anything else, is just tactically he should be in good position, and I think he has the speed to win this race. So Matticat Road, not overly sold on him, I'll admit, but I think there's enough here that you want a horse who's up near the leaders, and I think Matticat Road is a good selection here. Now, this race, there's there's some vulnerability here with a lot of the more prominent horses. I mean, Bullard, do we know if he wants to go around 2 turns or not? Not really. Sure. I don't like horses who close in 1-turn races go into 2-turn. And at 5-1, can he get into the money? Sure, but I'm not going to pick him. I can do better with a horse like Publisher. Publisher, I liked his last race. I didn't initially, but I went back and watched it again. And, he was starting to make a pretty good move. And then he got completely shut off, and it ruined his momentum. But I think that's the sign of a horse that certainly the stakes company isn't bothering him, which you like to see. And secondly, I mean, a horse who's on the improve. At 20-1, you're getting an excellent value for a horse that I think will be in good position. And I'll tell you, he's got an outside chance at taking this one down because there are some questions about some of the other horses. Sandman, I really like as a horse. I like him. But there's always that lingering thing that, if he's a closer, he needs a little help. I don't know if he gets it here. I'm just not sure of that. And he has been his own worst enemy at times. But when he does put it together, like in the Southwest after that terrible break, he closed like a freight train. Awesome, right? But he's also a Tappet. And we've got those lingering questions always about Tappets. It's always between the ears. I like him. I'm using him. You put him on your tickets absolutely as a win candidate. I'm just not... I just want to see one more before I get completely sold on it. But I like Sandman a lot in this spot. Now, Tistastic, okay. Steve Asmussen, trainee for Winchell Thoroughbreds in the number 13 hole in a graded Derby prep. Have we seen this before? Is Lightning going to strike twice? I don't think so. However, I did like Tistastic's last race. He did have some trouble in it that impeded his momentum, but he was moving nicely prior to that, and he still got up for third. He hasn't won on dirt yet. That's certainly a big issue. But I think he's a horse who's improving. And a 13 hole is tough, but he should have the stamina to hustle up a little bit and then still stick around. I think it might preclude him from being a win candidate. I think if he tries to do what Magnitude did, on paper he's a better horse, but I looked at that as more of a freak job than anything else. But I like Tistastic in this spot, and I think he's more a candidate to finish in the money, but there is an outside chance that he could win this race. And so I think Tistastic is one that you certainly want to use. This is a very interesting race. I think there's a couple of different ways to go, but and because it's kind of funky, let's go with a funky horse. I'm going to go with Manicat Road, but again, I'm not completely sold on it. So let's look at the finale of the Big Five and see what we see. As if this sequence wasn't tough enough, we have to end it with the ubiquitous Maiden Special Weight. 12th race on the Sunday card, running 6 furlongs for 3-year-olds and up, Arkansas breds. And these are usually crazy races, wide open affairs. Take a look at this field. $2 Eddie is the favorite. He's got second-itis. And I just can't do it. I mean, he's had every chance. I watched a couple of his races. He's had every chance to win, and he just can't seem to finish. I don't want any part of a horse like that, especially at 3-1, so I'm going to toss him. Tiz Marcus, to me, of the speeds, is a much better bet. His debut race, he did what a lot of times maidens will do. They get, all hot up and they're doing something for the first time, and they rush out of the gate, and they're really keen early, and then usually they fade to the back, and the next where you want them is the next start, is when they get to relax a little bit more. Tiz Marcus did that, but I really like the fact that he still was able to hang on for third. He didn't totally throw in the towel and persisted. I think it shows that this horse has some talent. And at 7-2, if you can get anything near there, that's a pretty good price. And so I like Tiz Marcus as a possible here. Mayor is, not a horse normally I would bet, to be very honest. I don't like to tab the workouts. There aren't enough of them, and they're extremely irregularly spaced. However, they do show some speed. And sometimes in these state-bred level races, you find horses where the trainers, they try to hide workouts. And, I've seen a lot of times horses come out and win with like one workout or none. And, so it's hard sometimes to know. But I think Flavian Pratt being aboard certainly upgrades this horse's chances. I'm not crazy about him at 4-1, but I'm just I find in a race like this, I would really kick myself if Flavian pulls it off and we didn't throw him in the mix. So we'll use Mayer, kind of reluctantly, but we'll use him. I liked Cowboy Sense the most of all the horses in this race, and he's my pick to win it. His debut race, he got shut off on the backstretch. He had all kinds of problems, and yet he persisted, and he kept on really well, and I liked the turn of foot. This is a horse that looks like with a little bit better racing luck in his second start. Now he's got one under his belt. I think looks awful good and ready to move forward, and at 8-1, that's a really good price. I think you have to have a price in this race. I like Cowboy Sense to win it. Dawson James is a first-time starter that his last two workouts look to me like he's really starting to get it. They were significantly better than what he had run before for Tom Vance. And it tells me that this is a horse who's probably going to outrun his odds a little bit. At 10-1, you're getting some good value. And, there aren't a lot of runners in here for sure. Bote, I just would mention that, for some of you guys, he might look pretty good. And to me, I started thinking about him, watching some of the replays. But then again, he's had every chance. A couple times. He had that race against War Mule where he got real close, but hasn't really built on it. And 12-1 isn't a bad price, but I just didn't like the feel I got from him. If you want to use him, I can understand it, but I can't do it. And a touchdown Arkansas, it's just a little too far away from the action to really know what we have here. And I just assumed weight one with him. And those are a couple others that I thought might look moderately attractive, but I'm going to let them both go. So here's our pick 5 ticket. And again, this is a really tough sequence, and I think you could spread in every one of these races, to be quite honest. In the Trivista first leg, race 8, we're going to go with 5, 8, and 10, and I think you could go 6 or 8 deep in that race, honestly. In leg 2, we're going to try to beat Mohima, so we're leaving her off. We're going to go with Look Forward as our primary and Take Charge Milady as the alternate. So there's 6 and 9 in race 9, leg 2. Leg 3, race 10, the Razorback, it's a tough one, but I think First Mission, if he runs back to his prior form, he's going to win this race. I think there's a lot of things working in his favor, particularly since most of the more prominent runners are running late. He should be able to tactically get a jump on him. I'm not overly confident about it, but I think we're just planting our flag here. If we're going to beat Mohima, we'll single with First Mission, and so be it. Leg 4, the Rebel Stakes. I think this race is a little more wide open than perhaps it might seem. It is a tough one. It really is. Sandman, because he's a late runner, I can't just, lock him up as the one to beat. I think Matticat Road is going to have better position, and that's my primary choice. We've talked about that race enough. But I think Publisher could really surprise at 20-1. I'm not putting it out of the realm of possibility. I was going to leave him off. I've decided to throw him on because if we get this deep and he comes home, we'll kick ourselves. So we'll go 3, 5, 6, and 13 in the Rebel Stakes. And then finally in the Maiden, in race 12, we're going to use 2, 5, 7, and 9. So we've got an economical ticket at $48 because we're just going to plant our flag, see if we can beat the short favorite. And if we do, and we can somehow get through the Razorback with First Mission, I think we're looking pretty good. It would likely be a pretty good payout. So now let's take a look at our best bets and value plays. Okay, so here are our best bets and value plays for the races that we've looked at, the late pick 5 sequence. Our best bet, and I'm telling you right now, I'm not overly confident about it, but of the within the races, I think First Mission might be the best bet in race 10. Our long shot is Publisher. I think he's got a pretty good chance in race 11 at 20-1. Hopefully we get that one home. That'll make things pretty nice. For the value plays, Indie Label in the number 8 in race 8. I like the progression, and that one seems to be on the right path. Needs to be a little more forwardly placed, but I think certainly could hit the board. Look Forward, I've picked him to win the Honeybee, so at 6-1, I think is a really good price, and I like in race 9. Alexander Helios, I think for Safi Joseph, is another one that is looks to be poised to running second off the layoff after a nice win last time. Looks to be moving in the right direction, and at 10-1, you get anything near that, I think is a very good bet to hit the board, if not win. And then finally in the maiden race, in race 12, Cowboy Sense, you're getting at 6-1, I believe, or 5-1 right now. And I think that's a really good price for a horse who, to me, looks poised and ready to graduate and move forward. Now, we'll look at our sequences. And right off the bat, you're going to say, well, your races 8 and 9 and 9 and 10, you've got the 1 in there, and you're not using in the pick 5. That's true. We're going to use Mohima as a saver in our doubles. So we'll go in races 8 and 9 for a double. We'll go 5, 8, and 10 with the 1. And then in the races 9 and 10, in the Honeybee and the Razorback, we'll go just a straight 1-3. And then we'll do a 6-9 with 3, because I think First Mission is a little bit better single. Then in races 10 and 11, we'll use First Mission, our single, on top with 3, 5, 6, and 13 for the Rebel Stakes. And then for our pick 3, we'll do 2. First, we'll do a saver with Mohima in the Honeybee for races 9, 10, and 11. So we'll go 1 with 3, 5, 6, and 13. And then we'll go 6, 9 with 3, 5, and 16. So this way, if if Mohima does come on top, we still have a chance to make some money, and hopefully we can get some value in the other legs and the doubles and the pick threes. Hope our analysis helps you with your own wagering strategy. Wish you the best of luck as always. If you do like content like this, of course, please like and subscribe. We will have a posting, hopefully, for the Battaglia that'll be run at Turfway on Saturday night. Should be a good race. It usually is. So stay tuned for that. And of course, we'll continue with our Derby top 10s, race replays of the graded Derby preps. So you'll have much more content from Right at the Wire. So stay tuned for that. That's it from here. I'll talk to you soon. And until then, be well.